And welcome back to our painting guides. I'm WarcastBear, aka Ben, Warcast Gaming here. We're doing today Adrax Agatone. Lovely model to build and paint, fantastic thing. Really enjoyed painting this model. We're going to go through, this is going to be the start of our Salamander painting series, I guess. I'm not going to do too many painting videos showing you exactly what I've done. I'm going to do some smaller vids, maybe do a little bit on like how I paint the green on my armour. Going to try and get some closer shots than I have done with this, but either which way, let's have a look. As you can see, the model's already a little bit painted. That's just because this is the model I used for our last live stream that we did. So all I've done is I've used the Army Painter colour primer spray. That's the green skin colour. So I sprayed the entire model with that, and then I've painted lead belcher onto all the metal parts that are on the model. Then I have 50-50 null oil and water shaded the entire model. Do 50-50 mix so that it settles in the recesses and it doesn't darken down the colour too much. Won't be covering the base in this video, mainly because I have got another video I will be putting up soon in the next couple of days that covers how I do the bases. So first off, all I do is I go in with Warpstone Glow, just using this to tidy up the armor panels, just because even though you do a 50-50 mix with the null oil, it does darken down the armor a tad. I like my characters to stand out a bit more, so their armor is a slightly lighter colour compared to the rest of the Salamanders that I do, and to be honest with most of them I do like a very light dry brushing with standard guys. Here I'm just going in with a 50-50 mix of Warpstone Glow with Moot Green. I like to give that little sort of transition between the Warpstone and the Moot Green, and I think like a little 50-50 and just doing sort of half of the armor panel, whereas I've done like 3/4 of the armor panel with the Warpstone. So I just go around, do each of the armor panels separately, just making sure that the areas that I highlight are really going to be the areas where there's going to be light touching it. I do it more to coming down instead of just coming up from the base. It's there are some times where I've done some object source lighting, but it's only when I've really been at a point where I think it really needs it. So once I've done all that, I'm now going to be going in with straight Moot Green. That will be more so for just the real edge highlighting areas, just to really pick out the armor colour. I quite like the Moot Green as the highlight. It looks really nice, and it's not too bright once you've done the mixes underneath and before. This step here, all I'm doing now is with the Moot Green, I have just added in a little bit of white just to sort of brighten up that Moot Green, just a little touch, so I get that real edge highlight now. So just go around each of the armor panels, highlight out in all the different areas and bring it in just a little bit, so I'll try and feather it in. I'm not very good at that process, but try and feather it in so it matches with the rest of them. As you can see, I've got a little bit of gunk on my brush here, so I'm having to try and pull that off. And it was pointy. So here I'm going to take the cloak and I'm going to stick it with the inside of the cloak down onto some blue tack, and it'd just be easier for me to paint it this way. The colour I'm using is Incubi Darkness, and I put that all over all the scales areas, so That's all over this part on the back here. I'm using a smaller brush at the moment so that I can get around the adjoining part for the backpack. I'm going to change it up to a bigger brush in a second, but I'll use that all over as the base coat for the cloak, and I use that on the back here and on the part of the scales that's draped over his shoulder that connects to this, that I found everybody is struggling and it keeps giving you a gap. If I'd have built the model, obviously I'd have filled the gap with some green stuff, but you know, I wanted to paint it separately, and then I just did. Also, the tabard on the front of his armor plate, in between his, well, from his waist down, I painted that with the Ink by Darkness as well. I don't show it in the video, but I do highlight that just slightly with some Sotek green, 50-50 with the Ink by Darkness, and then I highlighted it with the Temple Guard, which oddly enough is going to be the same sort of thing that I do with the cloak. What you'll notice as well is my model has a different shoulder pad to the one that comes in the kit for his left arm, no, right arm it is. That's just because I thought he needed something that was a bit more show off as such. So I had a spare shoulder pad lying around from, I think, Cromlech Minis. Same shoulder pad that I've actually given to my Primaris Vulcan Hestan that I've built. Once I get him painted, I will do a video with him, but I won't obviously show the painting video for that. Just using right now the Sotek green that I said I was going to use, using that to paint each individual scale, which is quite time consuming, so obviously I don't show you everything on this video. The best angle I ended up with, because for some reason I did it off camera again, same as I did with the King of the Dead. The best angle I had was trying to get it on the shoulder pad, so if you can't see it, I really apologise. It's painting scales at the end of the day. All I do is I just base coat each individual scale with the Sotek green, trying obviously not to get it on the cloak itself. So I use the Sotek green as well to edge highlight around the edge of the cloak, and then I go in with the Temple Guard blue and just highlight the scales now, and I use those just to edge highlight and to get the middles of the scales. Then use that to extra highlight the very edges, or most of the edges of the cloak itself as well. I think I might have cut something out, so what you're going to see now is the cloak just before I add Baharoth blue as the real edge highlight. Hopefully the camera focuses in, you can see it quite nicely. I quite like the blue, so I was quite happy with it. So on the inside of the cloak I have done a shanty bone, and once that's dried I'm now doing an Adrax Earth Shade wash, just to sort of really darken it down a bit. And then I went back over and did a shanty bone to re-highlight. Then I've gone in and I've done that same process on all the claws, the teeth, the inside of the scales from anywhere else as well. And now I'm going in and I'm highlighting with Flayed One Flesh. So I tried to do some difference when it comes to painting on these, and I found recently that there's a instead of using too much gold on salamanders, I think it's a bit too ostentatious, I guess. I don't find that they're, I know everything's master wrought and like master crafted and all that sort of stuff, but I think the stone effect stands out quite nicely because it's obviously like rock and magma and things like that, so it pays homage to Nocturne. So on my captain model that you might have seen pictures of already if you're following on Instagram, I did the Aquila and the feathers and such on his shoulder pads and that in a stone sort of style. So what I've done there is I've just painted all the trim and everything, so on his gauntlets, on his legs, on the waist plate, I've painted them all in Mechanica standard grade to start with. Now I'm just going in and filling in all of those gaps inside of those armor plates with Chaos Black. I want obviously the black shoulder pad for the Salamanders to be in there and to stand out. So that I paint that in there like that, and then the next step will be to go over all of the grey with highlighting, but first I go in and I make sure that I paint the flame effects that are all in these gauntlets before I start highlighting other bits, just because I want to know whereabouts I'm going to make the flame effects come out of the gauntlets or out of the trimming effect. So as I said, I'm starting painting all of the flame effects that are all over the model. So what I'm doing is I'm painting the flames on the inside of the gauntlets, on the inside of his leg pauldrons, and on the inside of the flames that are coming out of the salamander motif. So I start first off with Calm Red, base coat all of that, and whilst I'm there I base coat the Purity Seal that's on his leg as well, and anywhere else that really needs to be red I base coat. So my next step is literally just Troll Slayer Orange, and I go in and pick out on the flames from the bottom of the flame and take it probably about 3/4 of the way up the flame, try and feather it in on all the different flaming areas. I base coated the Salamander logo on the shield on his right side, sorry. I base coated that with the Calm Red, and now I've gone in and I've highlighted it all up with the Troll Slayer. I use straight Flash Kits yellow to paint into the bottom areas of the flames, and that way it gives you a nice hot look for the bottom of the flames. And I also use it as a bit of a highlight for the Salamander logo that's on his right shoulder pad, or on the right shield on the shoulder. At the point I just wanted to sort of bring the model a bit more into focus, show you guys a little bit more what I've got up to. Some of it's obviously not painted, whereas previously it would have been. It's just because of the way the editing goes. So, but I'm quite happy with the progress of it so far. So going back to the stonework that I was doing, now I've obviously undercoated everything with Mechanica Standard Grey. I did give it a slight non-oil wash as well, so that around any rivets and things like that it just sort of pulls and it looks quite nice for the darker shade. What I use now is the Administratum Grey. It's probably quite a jump. It's more the fact that I just couldn't find my Dawnstone and the mixes I was getting were just not looking right. So I got straight to the Administratum Grey. It's trying to go in with a bit more of a highlight straight away, so it's it looks quite nice, to be fair. So So to highlight that next step, I then use Ulthuan Grey just to use on the very edges of the highlight for highlighting everything, mainly where obviously the light's going to be coming down from the top and everything. I find a nice bright enough colour that ties in with stone, because it's kind of like a grey white and it works quite nicely. Once that's all done, I'm going to go over with all of the silver and just give it a non-oil wash, and then I just highlight it with some Runefang steel just to make it nice and bright. Now for the head on this model, on for Adrax, I don't use his actual head that you get on the sprue. I'm not a massive fan of the rebreather that he has on the front. It makes him look a bit too demonic for me, and while Salamanders obviously look a bit demonic, they're not supposed to be very chaosy looking. It looks a bit too chaosy for me. So all I did was I used the upgrade sprue, which is quite handy. Used one of the heads from there, not the cracked head, just the standard head. It looks quite nice and it works quite well. So as you can see, I'd already glued it onto the back of the cape, into the back section of their head, just to make it that I've got it there. I could have left it off and drilled a hole in the bottom and painted it that way, but I like to do it this way. So all I've done is I undercoated the head with Rhinox hide, and I'm now going in with Tuskor fur just to sort of make it a bit more of a brighter brown. I prefer to have a brown instead of having jet black skin. It's The jet black skin it's nice. I just prefer the brown. I think it just ties in with the models a lot better. I tried to go for different varying shades of brown as well, because that's the thing, like when you go with black, it's just every guy is going to have black skin, red eyes, white teeth or whatever. And trying to paint any models that have hair, I find it a right kerfuffle, because it's always just going to be white hair. It's at least with brown you can do something a bit different with. You can go with white hair, you can go with like a black hair, you can do all sorts of different shades, but I quite like it. So I'm now going in with a 50-50 of Tuscarora and Morvan brown, just to highlight all like the areas of the cheekbones and bits and pieces like that. So I just base coated the eyes with corn red, and then once I finish with the corn red, I go in and highlight really as detailed as possible. It's very difficult. Pick out the eyes with some Troll Slayer orange just to make them a bit brighter. Then I paint the teeth and everything with white scar, and then shade the inside of the mouth with normal oil. It's just a bit of a cheap way of making sure that it all stands out. So for me it works. So kind of near the end of this now. I got quite a bit done. There's a few things that need to be touched up, a few things that need to be highlighted a bit more. Not necessarily going to be I don't do it on the camera, and we're now at the stage where I'm going to be finally assembling him. Right, well, there you have it. That's my finished model that I'm happy with. Obviously you didn't get to see the flames on the back, me doing the backpack. That's because I'm going to do some flames in a different video. I've got what I think is quite a cool idea for my Invictus warsuit, and I've got some big flames that are showing on there, and I've also done the Molten Inferno so you can get flames so far. I'm quite happy with him. I really like how he's come out. He's perfectly fine for my standard of my tabletop gaming, and he works really nicely. I really particularly quite like the cloak. I think it is a really nice colour to match in. It works quite well for me, so I'm very happy with him. So thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully you made it all the way through and didn't sort of fall asleep. I know my voice sounds a bit boring sometimes, but I apologise for that one. And there's a fair few ums. I've tried to do my best, but there you go. So next video is going to be of basing, the way that I do my bases. I'm pretty sure there's a load of people that do it as well the same way, so but there you go. I'll go through potentially at some point some other models that I'm going to be doing, but yeah, for now this is Adrax Agatone. If you like the videos, comment, rate, subscribe, do all that jazz. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook and Instagram are the big ones. It's Warcast Gaming, so if you follow us on there you'll see lots of the updates. WarcastBear is it's his thing. He's posting loads all the time, lots of different stuff, so yeah, tune in for that, and hopefully I shall get some more videos out for you guys soon. Take it easy. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye.